Hey, thanks for dropping by. Today I want to talk about two very popular bands, but they're also probably my two favorite somewhat mainstream rock bands. That being Tool and the Deftones. Again, very popular bands. I don't have much new to say. Anyone clicking this probably is aware of all this stuff, but it's fun to look at albums, so here we go. So we're going to start with Tool. Tool are a rock band that formed in Los Angeles in 1990. And they've had a constant lineup the entire time, with the exception of a bass player change in 1995. And ever since 1995, the lineup has remained the same. This is the debut EP, Opiate. It's got 6 songs on here. On the shorter side for Tool. These are all from 3 to 5 minutes and change. The most straightforward Tool we're ever going to hear, and not something that I reach for very often, but I still have to objectively give it a 4 out of 5. Great album. It just doesn't hold a candle to what's to come, and it's just too early 90s for me. This is Undertow, the debut full-length album. And I got this when I was quite young, maybe when I was 13. I got it through Columbia House. And I liked it, I didn't love it. I remember the 2 music videos, Prison Sex and Sober. And those videos were played a lot on MTV, Much Music. And I didn't really like that style. It was just too kind of dark for me at the time. As much as I liked dark things, it just had this vibe I didn't like. But Sober, I'm not crazy about that song, but I do like Prison Sex. And I actually ended up selling this album when I was like 14, and just got around to picking it up maybe 5 years ago. I rebought it. I was gonna show the book, but definitely some pictures in there that aren't for everyone. Enema. I remember when this album came out like it was yesterday. This was in 1996. Big deal when it came out, and it's still considered by many to be their best album. And I'd have to imagine best-selling, but I don't know that for sure. Cool album cover. It's got different inserts you can put in there, getting a similar effect. But anyways, another strange picture here. Now there are, I think, 4 interludes that don't really do much to service the album, but I've kind of bought in that they're a part of the album. They're meant to be there for a reason, and I'm not so sure anymore. You know, the band's very secretive. They like to play jokes on their fans. They're not really too forthcoming with what albums are about. And I think those skits maybe are just thrown in there as a joke. Let people analyze them. But in any case, all the real songs are incredible. So what I like about the band is that it's like every couple years I go on this long Tool spree, and there's always songs that I didn't love, and I always come to love the songs as the years go by. That's their main thing. I just never get bored of them. I've also never seen Tool live, actually. I don't know why. They're coming to Toronto for 2 nights in November, and they both look sold out. I'm sure if I want to spend a couple of $100 on a nosebleed seat, I probably could do that, but I don't think I'm gonna. My biggest regret is, I'd say at least 10 years ago, probably 15 years ago, they picked ISIS as an opening band, and seeing that show would have been awesome. But again, let me pick a couple songs on this. I still love Stink Fist, even though it's probably the most popular song on here. the title track, Jimmy. 46 and 2, even though for many years that was one of my least favorites on here, it's definitely risen to become one of my favorites. It's just an awesome album, and I know that there's a lot of people that don't like Tool. Tool fans can be annoying, but I think the music speaks for itself. Total masterpiece. As is the next one, Lateralis. I don't think I have the full packaging here. I bought this close to when it came out, but I did buy used. One of my favorites on here. I can't pick. I think I like this even better than Enema. The Tool fans know that there is a whole theory about the Holy Gift, which is reordering the songs on here to reveal the true meaning of the album. I don't know about all that. Some of the way the songs are placed, I see where they're going, and other times I really don't. But it's an interesting concept. I recommend you look it up and give it a spin once or twice for yourself. Just listening to it the way it is on CD is totally fine too. Next up we have 10,000 Days, the fourth full-length album, 2006. Very cool packaging here. It's got some really cool artwork that you can look through with these. And for many years, this was my, not objectionably what I thought was the best Tool album, but definitely my most played one. It was the first one I bought the day it came out, and I had one of those early iPods that you can only fit like 6 albums on, and this stayed on that iPod for years, I feel like. Want to go to the track listings, but they're always kind of hidden in here. It doesn't really matter, just again, these are albums you want to listen to from beginning to end. Somewhere along the way, actually, I should mention, after Enema, they put out a release called Salival, which was a box set that I think had 2 discs and either a VHS or a DVD, live material, some covers, some outtakes. I don't own that, it's out of print, and if you want to get a copy, you'll be paying a lot of money for a used one. But I think there's some good stuff on there. There's one of the songs off Enema, I'm not recalling which one it is, but it's a complete reworking, and I think it's awesome. There's also a song called You Lied by a band called Peach, which I believe Tool's bass player played for back in the day. And I really like that song because it doesn't sound like Tool. It kind of reminds me of ISIS, one of my favorite bands, even though that Peach band would have been before ISIS for sure. So 12 years would pass after 10,000 Days, and time flies. I guess it's probably been about 4 years now, maybe even longer, since Fear Inoculum came out. And I actually didn't make a Tool album earlier, a Tool video earlier, because I was waiting to kind of complete my discography. I was all over streaming this when it finally came out, but I never shelled out the money to get a copy. But just last week, it was my 40th birthday, and my wife knows just what to do for me. She's not gonna go and buy me a bunch of gifts. We're gonna go to the record store and she's gonna say, spend X amount of money on me. So that's what we did, and as we were cashing out my purchases, which we'll look at on some other day, I saw this behind the counter, and it was at a price that I haven't seen this album at before. So me and her just made eye contact, and she's like, grab it. So here it is, Fear Inoculum. This is the version that has, let's look at this for a minute. You open it up, it's got a USB port so you can recharge it, and it plays kind of an ambient track. and has a graphic little video here. But where are the buttons here? There's a play and pause and volume up and volume down. And this goes on for several minutes, and then it just loops around. I'll let that play for a while. It's got a nice thick booklet. Cool artwork as usual. Just got the, the bumpy cover. The tracing paper style pages. Here's the disc sleeve and the disc. My favorite song here is probably Numa, if I had to pick. But overall, I think this is sorry, you know what? This video is not translating too well to my phone camera here. As soon as you close it, it stops automatically. But yes, Numa's my favorite song. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. This is the best Tool album. I can't say that, but I really can't complain. I think it was worth the wait, and I hope it's not so long for the next one. What's a quick ranking? Let's do that. Full lengths only. Number 5, Undertow. Despite being my most listened to Tool album, I'm gonna put this at number 4, 10,000 Days. Fear Inoculum at number 3. I know these are everyone's favorite Tool albums, but I find it really hard to pick. I think this is a better beginning to end album. I think the strong songs really stand out on here. I'm gonna go with my gut. Number 2, Enema. Number 1, Lateralis. So now let's talk about the Deftones. I was looking for my Deftones CDs, and I actually thought I had more than I actually have right now. But the first 2 albums, Adrenaline and Around the Fur, I always kind of wrote those off back when I was young as a Korn ripoff. Don't get me wrong, Korn's debut album came out when I was probably 12 years old, and I was a big fan up through maybe 6 months after Life is Peachy came out. But I always just thought of Deftones as a Korn ripoff and kind of put them to the side, didn't pay attention to them. Then when White Pony came out, I should mention though, actually, even though it was probably the most popular song on there, what's that song? Be Quiet and Drive, I think, on Around the Fur. I still think that's an awesome song that's really previewing the masterpiece that's to come with this album, White Pony. I didn't buy it at first, but Change in the House of Flies, which is probably still their biggest song, and you know what? I got to admit, it's my sentimental favorite. That's a magical song. I never get tired of it. I just have this memory of hanging out with some friends when I was probably 16 and hearing it on the radio. And I don't know, it just gave me this like kind of cozy feeling that it brings me right back to every time I hear this song. But anyways, that song was all over the radio, and then it took a year or two, but I eventually bought the album, and I was glad I did. Back to School, Digital Bath, Knife Party, again, Change in the House of Flies, but the entire album. One of the best albums ever. Top 15 album, regardless of genre. Period for me. After that, they would break up and then return with the self-titled album, Deftones. And that is, well, I found that album pretty inconsistent. It sounds the way I like it, but there's a couple standout songs. A couple are pretty forgettable. I don't own that one. Saturday Night Wrist. This is probably my second favorite Deftones album. This one came out 2006. I like the album cover. I like the vibe. It's just got kind of a darker feel to it. More immersive, I thought. I like the opener, Hole in the Earth, Beware, and Combat. Those are my favorite songs on here. I guess my only complaint is that song, Pink Cell Phone. If you know the album, you know it. There's that whole female voice with the strange monologue, and it's not like I find it gross or offensive or anything. I just find it really sticks out on here, and I would personally remove it if I could. But yes, I find people don't really talk about this album very much, and it's a very special one to me. Again, it's probably my second favorite. Diamond Eyes. This one is from 2010. That was a pretty immediate album compared to the one that preceded it. I thought it was pretty, it's like heavy, but straightforward and accessible. My favorite two songs on here are probably Beauty School and 976 Evil. Koi no Yokan. This one came out 2012. And I have mixed feelings on this album. I find it's not very memorable, but at the same time, I think it plays very well as a full album. If I had to pick just a couple songs, I'm going to go with Entombed and Gauze. So the next album, Gore, or Ohms for that matter, the next two, I don't own those on CD. I'm still going to give both of those 4 out of 5 easy. Deftones are an awesome band, and similar to Tool, I've never seen them live. I'm just not really into seeing big artists live unless it's an old metal band that I think I'm not going to ever get a chance to see again. So yeah, I just feel going to a Deftones show probably isn't the environment for me, but maybe one day. Hopefully they stick around and keep putting out great albums. And Tool, again, they're coming by soon, and I just got to decide if I want to spend the money or not. But anyways, that's it. Good talking about these guys, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.